Hey guys, what's up? We have a game here for a tournament that I'm playing in. It's called the RU Snake Draft. So basically, everyone that signs up is potentially in a pool of players that are picked. I was picked in the second round of it, and I'm playing a tier that I quite like, Sun and Moon, rarely used. And my opponent is a good friend of mine and a longtime player, Mannat, also known as Little Lucario. He's a really strong player, and he happened to quite like rarely used last generation. So while he's not one of the most well-known rarely used players, I knew this game would be a treat. Right off the bat, I decided I'd bring a bit more of an offensive team. After consulting with my captain and a couple of my teammates, we decided this would be a good team. I'm going to just switch sides really quick, just so I'm on the right side, and then we'll reset so you guys can see screen preview. But it has a mixed Mega Abomasnow with Ice Shard, Earthquake, I want to say Blizzard and Giga Drain, but it might be Woodhammer. I can't quite remember, unfortunately. A Nasty Plot, Miss Magus with Thunderbolt and Z Shadow Ball. Just a bulky Stealth Rock DNC with Toxic and I think Moonblast plus Earth Power. A Scarf Noivern with Switcheroo, Dual Stab, and U-Turn. Just bulky, physically defensive Spikes, Volt Switch, Gyro Ball, Rapid Spin, Fortress. And last but not least, a choice banded variant of Beware. So looking at this matchup, I knew that Beware was great because he had no fighting resist. However, he kind of suffocated me really well, as while things like Metagross are going to be taking a lot of damage, they can also still live a hit and deal a lot back. And Donphan lives a hit with ease, and Earthquake isn't really something that Beware loves to tank because it's not affected by Fluffy. It's not a contact. In addition to that, things like Deancey are able to kill you with a Moonblast in all likelihood, especially after any chip, and they could live a superpower. And then there's faster Pokemon like Mandibuzz, potentially. It could run Speed anyway, that should live a hit. It could run Toxic or Knockoff. And Goodra, which can just nuke you with Draco Meteor, and Virizion, which may very well be a Z-Fight variant. If not, then close combat, he's not going to be able to kill you, but with +2 of them. So I knew that I'd have to get that in at least a couple times to try and potentially pick off kills and position myself nicely, and I knew that would be limited. So my ability to access the game and just kind of be a step ahead would be huge. On top of that, Abomasnow looked really nice if I was able to pick the right move. For example, if I get it in against something like Donphan or Mandibuzz, you should be able to live a Brave Bird, and Donphan's not likely to run Head Smash, and it could also be slower than me, so I could potentially Earth Power, predicting the Metagross getting a lot of damage off on that. Especially because since it's likely going to be Stealth Rock on either the Deancey or the Donphan, it's probably going to be a Choice Scarf variant of the Metagross on this team, or even a Choice Banded with Pursuit, but I don't think this team benefits a ton from a Choice Banded Pursuiter more so than just Scarf with Tricklures, as both of those benefit Virizion quite nicely. So, therefore, I think it's probably going to be Scarf Metagross and Specs Goodra, but it could be a Scarf Goodra and a Choice Banded Metagross potentially. So I'd be cautious regardless, but seeing as it's an offensive Metagross, Earth Power from like Abomasnow was going to do a number. In addition, once I know which one of the two to Choice Scarf is, if I'm able to take out either of those two, then all of a sudden my Mismagius is a great matchup with any chip or crippling on the Mandibuzz. Finally, my Deancey should be able to get rocks up, but it might get removed once or twice due to the potential Donphan spin. In addition to that, my Gyro Buff and Fortress can be able to do a ton to it, so I know I want to chip Donphan as much as possible. It might even involve trading an Earthquake on my Deancey for that, as I always live even an offensive Earthquake with the Deancey. Last but not least, Noivern isn't too useful here in the early game, as he's got both Deancey and Metagross of his own, but getting a trick off on either of those two or something like Mandibuzz could be of great importance to me and winning. As for his team, he has a lot of threats to my team, unfortunately. Metagross is a big threat. While I do have Fortress to come in and Volt Switch against it, I can't do anything offensively against it, and on top of that, I have no other Speed Resist with multiple Pokemon, Deancey, and Abomasnow being killed by Meteor Mash without a doubt. So that's something I have to be cautious of as well, not letting it in too many times. In addition to that, if he's a Stone Edge or a Z-Rock variant of Virizion, then switching into it is going to be a pain for me as well. Knowing that I have a couple things that are able to avoid one-hit KOs like Fortress with Gyro Ball and Beware if it's an Z-Fight is great. In addition to that, it doesn't seem to run Z-Grass too often, so Deancey could potentially stand against it and Moonblast it after any chip, and Ice Shard from Abomasnow could be a nice revenge killing tool, but it is a threat for sure. Finally, two other Pokemon seem threatening to me. Whereas I checked the Goodra pretty nicely with the combination of just things that deter Draco Meteor users like Deancey, and the fact that Deancey just walls at stab, and the fact that I can sponge any one hit with Magus if it's not Specs, or any one non-fire move with Fortress no matter what if I need to. The Deancey, if it's offensive with Hidden Power Fire, which it turned out to be in the game, spoiler alert, is actually a massive problem with me, and that's simply not a very common set. So it wasn't something I anticipated coming into the game. In fact, a lot of people in the chat were surprised, but that was a really good bring by Mannat, as it was a quite nice Pokemon against my team. And last but not least, the Donphan with combination of Earthquake and Ice Shard is great against everything besides the Abomasnow, and it could have potential head smash for it or stealth rock to chip it. So that's something I've got to keep in mind as well. Right off the bat, I didn't love the matchup given all of these factors, but I knew it was winnable if I played aggressive enough. So I'm actually going to get into the game now. Don't worry, I wasn't going to just comment over team preview for a very long time. I know that gets boring after a while, but I feel the analysis and the thought process is beneficial to the viewer experience as well. So I hope you guys appreciate that. And if you don't, then let me know in the comments and I'll get more chop to the point for sure in the future. But anyway, I'd elected to lead with my Beware because I saw no fighting resist. Unfortunately, I led the Antsy instead of Metagross, so I got right out of the way and I went to my Fortress. I saw right off the bat that it was doing so much with Moonblast, so I figured it might have hidden Power Fire, or on top of that, he might scout for Gyro Ball and simply go to something like a mixed Metagross, or even more likely than that, a Donphan. And I can't really do much to Donphan as I don't have Toxic. All I can do is just Gyro Ball, it's only going to do like 20%. So what I elected to do was double out into my Abomasnow, figuring, okay, he's probably going to go to the Donphan. If not, he's going to, maybe click Rocks, I don't know, or maybe even go to Mandibuzz. I didn't think he'd go Metagross this early, and I knew this was healthy enough to pivot back into it, so Abomasnow was my play predicting the Donphan. However, he revealed it in Power Fire there, which obviously hits both Pokemon 4 times super effectively. It isn't going to kill the Abomasnow, though. It was a very favorable roll for me, given what I understand. I wasn't minus special defense or anything, so now he simply goes to Metagross as I go for an Earthquake predicting that. It was Earthquake, not Earth Power, my bad. So that's a nice 56% damage there. So that kind of evens out a little bit, but he goes for Trick here, cripples the Fortress. This is a big problem for me, because now my main pivot physically is really softened up, and he's getting leftovers as well. However, the one good thing about this, the silver lining, is him tricking this away makes him very vulnerable to Mismagius, and also that's one less thing that might potentially outrun Beware if it's not plus speed, although I had a feeling that it was going to be plus speed, and as you see, Beware only hits 240, whereas, well, Adamant Mega Metagross, regular Metagross, sorry, I don't like it saying Mega, is slower than that, just by a hair. A plus speed Metagross hits 262, so yeah, that probably was coming into play, but it's also in range for even a double edge after Hail to kill this, so that chip is good, but the trick is very poor for me. So I'm in a hold here. He's definitely a big lead with this Abomasnow almost being dead, and this Fortress, being chipped. So let's see how I can claw out of this. He goes Donphan here, and I get Spikes up, which I can potentially bait a Rapid Spin. Now, knowing that might be coming, I simply go to Noivern here, and he doubles to Mandibuzz, surprisingly. I actually just wanted to get a lot of damage off, potentially force a switch, but I get a switcheroo into that Mandibuzz, and that's great, because while it might now outrun Mismagius as a faster variant, that's one more thing that we're really going to be strapped to recover that could potentially check Mismagius, or even Noivern. In addition to that, I get U-turn and Spikes damage on the Diancie, and he goes for Moonblast into me. Seeing some Clear Body, it cannot drop my special attack. And I know it's quicker than me, but I go for Earth Power. He predicts me to go for Rocks perhaps and brings in the Metagross, or not Earth Power, and I get the kill there. I think that was a really sloppy play of him in hindsight, but he didn't have many other great moves, as the Donphan would take a ton of damage from a Moonblast, and you want to present the Diancie as it's just phenomenal against me offensively. As we see here, my only pivot to it is my own Diancie, as this dies now to anything after hitting Power Fire. This dies to Power Fire, this is dying, this is getting to it here by Moonblast, not like good, and this is dying. So yeah, I definitely have to be really cautious around that here. He goes to Verzion here, so what I do here is I double to Fortress, just saying, okay, I don't really need it. And now he goes to the Mandibuzz, and he simply goes for U-turn. That's fine with me. He brings in the Diancie, and at this point, I know I'm quicker because I'm a Choice Banded Beware, and as you see here, it's a very slow Diancie. Even an Adamant Beware just outruns it by a hair. So I'm going to like to trade, knowing that if it's a very fast variant, Superpower actually has a good chance to kill, but you actually had a lot of HP given this roll. So I only do 80% with Superpower, but that's a fine trade. I know you guys are like, wait, he didn't have a fighting resist, why'd you do that? But I didn't have a true Diancie check or resist, if you will. So that was crucial for me. They put it in range for just barely living Spikes, not even living Spikes with Hail. So Ice Shard can take it out, or even Thunderbolt from Mismagius, which I go for there. Into the Mandibuzz, and now he goes for Foul Play, predicting me to stay in. And since he's locked into that, he's got to switch out of the Diancie. That's going to lead to the Donphan taking a Moonblast, which 2 kills it almost always, if not always, depending on his spread. I don't think they run special defense, so yeah. And I'm going to live the Earthquake I alluded to before. It probably capped out at around 88 to 90%, so I almost always live that. And I get the Moonblast off for the Tokyo, thankfully. Kind of the sequence I alluded to during Team Preview, saying I'm okay taking that Earthquake. Yeah, it does make Goodra more threatening, but I now have a Pokemon advantage, and I have Spikes up for good. So that's going to apply a lot of pressure onto his team. In addition to that, we know the Goodra is Specs, or just not a Scarf set. It could, for example, be Z, but I'm thinking the Verizion's more likely than not going to be the Z user. So now, because of that, I outrun it with Mismagius, and on top of that, Noivern. So while he's going to be able to take me out here, of course, with Thunderbolt, and I'm not sure if it's in Draco Meteor range from Noivern, I go to Abomasnow knowing that Ice Shard actually just picks against him, and it does 51 here, which is great, as it puts it in range for things like Noivern's Hurricane, which I'm fairly certain he's choice at this point, Specs, to be specific, to be more specific about it. if I just go for a Hurricane, it's in Hurricane range anyway. And he goes Virizion and misses, but thankfully I've got another chance to hit. And if he's Z-Rock, it sucks afterwards, but I hit anyway, so we'll never know what Z he was. That's great, so I'm able to hit there. He goes to Mandibuzz. I just U-turn here, and now I'm like, okay, I could go Fortress, and I could force a Volt Switch because Donphan's dead, but he locks into Toxic, which is even better for me. And while he's Overcoat and I'm taking Hail damage, I could just continuously U-turn and Volt Switch around it until it dies, and then ultimately clean up the game with something like my Mismagius or Norburn. Mismagius does the trick after Spikes. Both of these are easily in range. In fact, they might be regardless due to Z. So, yeah. Looking like a win here for me. So after a really rough start against that really cool and threatening Yancey set, I was able to persevere through the disadvantageous position, and with some timely aggression and a nice trade with the Beware, I was able to emerge victorious in this close game for week 1 of the Smogon Rarely Used Snake Draft against Mannat. Hope you guys enjoyed. I figured I'd change up the pace a little bit because a lot of people are watching old generations and lower tiers, so this gets the best of both worlds. For those of you guys that just came around for SS and don't follow this, it's fine. I'm going to be giving you guys SSU content and other generations of OU content every day, so be sure to stay tuned for that. And if you guys enjoyed this, then I'm glad you did. But anyway, have a nice night, guys. Peace. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you feel like it.